Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. I'm with Dr. Shabir. Dr. Shabir, I want to ask you about President Donald Trump's comments with relation to Pope Leo XIV and some of the things that he said in relation to the war in Iran. What are your thoughts, Dr. Shabir, on some of his comments?
Yeah, well, as you know, Pope Leo XIV, called for an end to war, and he wants to bless the peacemakers. And the present war obviously can be seen by all and sundry to be totally unnecessary. War, according to just war theory worked out by medieval theologians, especially Catholics, would regard war as being justified only if it is a last resort.
Mm-hmm.
And then, too, you have to calculate to keep civilians safe. And you have to foresee that the benefits of going to war would far outweigh the harms of that are involved in the war. And you have to be able to calculate a good end result. You have to see an end to the war coming. It cannot be like a long, drawn-out war in which the aim is not achieved and people keep dying, and you're just fighting a war for the sake of fighting a war. So Pope Leo is right to see that the current war on Iran is not justified according to medieval just war theory, which has become like a religious theory within the Catholic Church. For the President of the United States to criticize the Pope, like this is a mixture of two different things here. The Pope is speaking as a religious figure, commenting on the morality of what's going on at the moment. The President of the United States is a statesman. He has to focus on state-related things and, can't continue to do what he's doing if he feels it is right, or to listen to the good moral upbraiding from religious figures, because sometimes a statesperson can just have a narrow focus and forget about the morality of what they're doing, because they're dealing with practicalities. They're dealing with prices, like gas prices, and they're vying for control and power and domination, and trying to reclaim or to claim new territory, and to lay claim to oil resources and other resources, but they might forget the morality of what they're doing. So it is time for them to pay heed if they haven't paid heed before, or if they don't want to pay heed, they just quietly continue what they're doing. But it is wrong for him to take on the Catholic Pope.
And it wasn't even like he was kind of responding in an intellectual way. I disagree with the Pope on this point. It was such a nasty attack,
Yes.
It was so vicious for
Personal
no reason.
attack, like he doesn't deserve to be Pope,
Yeah.
and whatever. He's only the Pope because I happen to be the President of the United States of America, and people wanted American.
And he even
Pope
said, "I
and
don't
whatever.
like him very much" when he was
Yes.
asked,
Yeah,
So-
and that's a very common a statement from him. I don't like this person, or I don't like that person. Whereas that in his position, it's not a matter of like or dislike. It's nothing personal. It should be that he's dealing with things according to public policy and so on. In fact, I would very much recommend for him to have a spokesperson who would speak politically correct language on his behalf.
I don't think he listens to recommendations, Dr. Shabir.
No. Next thing he's going to condemn me as well. And of course, he has people within his party, like Vance, who will come to his defense and try to justify what he has said. But no, it's not justifiable. And
As a person of faith, Dr. Shabir, how do you feel about this? Because I know that some Iranian officials have actually spoken out on X and said, we respect, the Christian faith. We don't appreciate any denigration of, the Pope or anything like that. So what do you, as an imam, feel about this attack on the Pope?
Yeah, I respect fellow imams. I respect priests. I respect religious leaders of other faiths. They're trying to guide their people towards, the upliftment of their morality and goodness. They're calling people towards charity and fairness and justice for all human beings. So I respect that. And, some religious figures can be criticized without much impact on the laity. But for Catholics, the Pope is speaking infallibly when he speaks ex cathedra. And sometimes it's difficult to distinguish between what he's speaking, what he's saying ex cathedra and what he's saying, ordinarily. But still, Catholics would have a very high regard for their Pope. And, a an academic type of critique of something that somebody has said would be, I think, welcome by anyone. But this kind of outlandish attack of a personal nature, does not seem to advance any sort of dialogue.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Muslim Media Hub, the new home of Let the Quran Speak.
Here we spread positivity and good. We help people experience the beauty of Islam and help them appreciate and understand Muslims.
This beautiful building we purchased at cost $2.3 million.
Yeah, we've already raised a third of that money, and with your help, inshallah, we can pay off the rest.
So we're looking for people who can give $1,000 each. If you can be part of the select group, that's amazing.
Otherwise, just please give whatever you can. Every dollar counts.
It's our collective responsibility to share the message of Islam with our fellow human beings. Please help us continue this good work.
It's a sadaqah jariyah, something that will continue to be a benefit to the Muslim community long after Safiyyah and I are gone.
Please support our work at muslimmediahub.com.
Your support is zakat eligible and tax deductible.
May Allah bless you and your loved ones today and always. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.